Hello, everyone. Welcome to Helicon West.
Yeah.
I've been involved with Helicon West for 11 years. I just realized this is my first time emceeing, so this is new. I'm out of my comfort zone today. I'm Joseph. You might have heard Star say that, but I'm Joseph Anderson, and I work at the Logan Library. And since we're a part of Helicon West, I'm here helping out. We want to thank everybody for coming today. Helicon West is an uncensored public reading series. We regularly host published authors alongside community writers to promote and support all levels of skill, ability, and craft. If you'd like to read during the open mic, which will come at the end, you can sign up on the sheet at the back, on the table back here. And if you'd like to donate to keep Helicon West going, I just realized that I didn't bring the bookmarks. If you go to Sugar House Review's website, there's a link there that you can donate to help Helicon. We acknowledge that Helicon West operates on the territory of the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Nation. Our events are made possible with support from Sugar House Review, the Logan Library, the USU English Department, and community volunteers. For our full land acknowledgement statement, interviews with featured readers, merch, and more, you can visit heliconwest.wordpress.com. Tonight, we are lucky to have Ashleigh Sabin, and I'll just tell you a little bit about her. She's an undergraduate student at USU studying English education. She's worked as a writing tutor, research fellow, and an editor for the literary magazine Sink Hollow. She's also the historian for her chapter of the English Honor Society, and the current intern for Helicon West.
Yeah.
So I'll just tell you a little bit about the format. Well, maybe I'll leave that to Ashleigh because she's changing it up a little bit tonight. So I'll turn the time over to Ashleigh.
Hi everyone. Okay, so I thought it would be fun to do Gothic poetry since Halloween is next week. But basically, I'll only present for probably about 10 minutes, and then we'll have a few different writing prompts. So I'm thinking we'll split it up into like 3 periods of 10 minutes for like 10 minutes for each writing prompt. So yeah, anyways, here, let me go to the next screen. So Gothic literature in general is mostly used to refer to like older things. I think it also can apply to modern examples, but I pulled some older examples because those are kind of the classics that everyone knows. So here's some well-known examples of Gothic literature. So first one is Lady Lazarus, excuse me, by Sylvia Plath. Is anyone familiar with this poem? Yes. See some nodding heads. Star, what do you know about Lady Lazarus?
Oh, don't put me on the spot. Now I've forgotten everything.
Okay, no, that's okay.
About Plath and her weird stuff.
Yeah, it is kind of a trick. But basically, this was one of her most well-renowned and also most controversial poems she ever wrote. It was in her last collection that was published posthumously called Ariel. And in the poem, she compares herself to Lazarus. Sylvia Plath struggled with suicidality her whole life, basically. So she writes about how she has had attempted suicide several times and survived it. So it's kind of dark. It uses dark themes that are typical of Gothic poetry. Okay, anyone familiar with The Raven? A lot more nodding heads. What do you guys know about The Raven?
Nevermore, nevermore.
Exactly, nevermore. Yeah.
It's kind of implied that the speaker is reading like tomes of necromancy to bring back his loved one.
Yes, that is true. It has a lot to do with death, necromancy, like you said, and lost love is kind of the themes of that one. And then the last one, has anyone heard of Goblin Market? You have?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of how what it was about. It's kind of about temptation and seduction. Like it's about 2 sisters, and one of them is almost tempted to go to the Goblin Market, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so it's about 2 sisters, Lizzie and Laura, I believe are their names. And they're at this market, and there's these goblins selling forbidden fruit. And the one sister kind of succumbs to temptation. She tastes this forbidden fruit and kind of descends into a bit of madness. And her other sister has to go get more fruit to basically save her in the end. But scholars have kind of talked about how it could be a metaphor for like sexuality in Victorian England and stuff like that. So that's that one. Okay. So what would you guys say, like, what are the common elements of Gothic literature that you know of? Yeah?
Often have to do with death.
Yes.
I would say.
It does often have to do with death. Yeah?
Usually a Byronic protagonist.
Oh, what? Sorry?
A Byronic protagonist, a kind of a, to simplify, a broody protagonist, someone
Yes.
a protagonist who's very emotional with themselves.
Yeah, the main character is often, like you said, brooding, maybe on the brink of insanity, unstable. That is one of the common elements. Anything else you guys can think of? Yeah, sorry.
Supernatural elements?
Yes, supernatural elements are super common. So this is where you get like werewolves, like vampires, Dracula, Frankenstein. Even in The Raven, the example from just now, it's kind of implied that maybe the raven is supernatural, the fact that it can speak, and yeah, so supernatural elements are common. Anything else?
Is there any redemption at all?
What'd you say?
Is there any redemption at all
Redemption,
in the end?
Is there redemption in the end?
Maybe
That's a
maybe.
good question. Not usually. I'm sure there are examples where the character is redeemed. Oftentimes, though, it's much more focused on like the agony and the angst of the situation. But so I pulled a few common elements that I really appreciate in Gothic literature, just to kind of highlight them. So the first one was mentioned, but it's that theme of just like dark themes generally. So you'll get death, loss, pain, grief, madness, obsession. It doesn't shy away from talking about supernatural things, which was also mentioned, things that are taboo, sensual, or grotesque. So in the example of Lady Lazarus, she talks about her history with suicide. She talks about dying as an art. In The Raven, the narrator also is grappling with the death of someone else, of his lover. And in Goblin Market, like we talked about, Rossetti kind of explores the implications of taboo sexual behavior. So, another one that I personally really like in literature and just music and everything is like allusions to oftentimes like classic literature, but I don't think it necessarily has to be classic. But Gothic literature usually draws on that rich cultural knowledge, that shared knowledge that we all kind of have. So Lady Lazarus, I mean, is obviously an allusion to the Bible, to Lazarus who died and was brought back to life 4 days later. In The Raven, he calls the raven Night's Plutonian shore, which is referring to Pluto, the god of death, in mythology. And in Goblin Market, the theme of the forbidden fruit can be read as a reference to Garden of Eden, forbidden fruit. So these ones are kind of religious, but it also doesn't have to be religious at all. A lot of times it's, you know, mythology, well-known books, cultural ideas, I think, like, are really effective, especially if it's something that's unique to maybe your culture or understanding. It can be a really interesting thing to draw on. So that's illusion. And then the last one is animal imagery, is very often used in this kind of poem. Yeah, like either they're describing the main character as kind of animalistic, on the brink of insanity. It's used to evoke fear and dread in readers. So for example, the very last line of Lady Lazarus, I don't know why I can't pronounce that word right now, but it says, "Beware, beware, out of the ash I rise with my red hair, and I eat men like air." So there's kind of that animal, cannibalistic, maybe, theme that she's pulling there. In The Raven, the speaker describes the raven as grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, an ominous bird of yore. And it's obviously pulling on that association of ravens being tied to death or a bad omen that we have kind of culturally. And then in Goblin Market, when they're describing the various goblins, it says, "One had a cat's face, one whisked a tail, one tramped at a rat's pace, one crawled like a snail, one like a wombat prowled obtuse and furry, one like a rattle tumbled hurry-scurry." So just kind of pulling on those images that we have of what an animal looks like to help us picture kind of these creepy creatures. So I brought some prompts for you guys. Hang on. Okay. And I thought that we could spend 10 minutes on the first prompt. So let me just start handing these out and tell you what that first prompt is. Do you want to pass those back? Okay, so I modeled the prompts after those three kind of elements that I mentioned in the slideshow. So the first prompt is about theme, and I want you guys to try and write a Gothic poem or a few lines of a poem that are inspired by one of those typically Gothic themes. So it could be, death, loss, pain, grief, madness, obsession. Some ideas just to get you thinking. You could write about a speaker's dark devotion to something or someone. You could explore how a speaker is haunted by their past. Describe an object or event that the speaker views as a bad omen, or write about a speaker's feelings of dread and fear. And those are just ideas. You can take this any direction you want, but try and use one of those Gothic themes to inspire some poetry. Yeah, so I'll set a timer for 10 minutes, and then we can look at the next one. Oh, and I have paper. Does anyone need paper? Okay, cool. Start every 10 minutes. If you want, you can just start incorporating the next prompt into what you're already writing, or you can start fresh. The next prompt is about illusion. So it says, write a prompt inspired by or alluding to another story or work. So some examples I gave are Icarus in Greek mythology, who flew too close to the sun and fell to his death. Lazarus from the Bible. Dante's Inferno, which chronicles the descent into the 9 circles of hell. I thought that one could work well in something more dark and Gothic. A Modest Proposal by Jonathan Swift. This was a satirical essay where the narrator mockingly recommended that the Irish lower class escape their poverty by selling their children to be fattened and eaten by the rich. So kind of dark. Atlas from Greek mythology, who was condemned to forever hold up the sky and heavens. And Hansel and Gretel, the fairy tale. So yeah, see if you can incorporate that into what you're working on. Okay, last 10 minutes and last prompt. This one's about the animal imagery, so see if you can incorporate in your writing or start something new that has to do with animal imagery. So that could be writing about a person who resorts to animalistic means. It could be an image of an animal in culture that has some sort of meaning, like a snake, meaning being a symbol of deceit, a crow as an omen of death, a rat seen as a symbol of disease and greed, or an albatross, which is often seen as a symbol of punishment and regret. Or you could compare the actions of an animal, so like vultures flocking around a carcass or something like that. You could compare that to an event you're writing about or an event in your own life. So yeah, good luck. Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for participating. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you, Ashleigh.
Yeah.
So the way this works now is if anyone feels like they would like to read what they've written, we have an open mic where anyone can come up and share. And I mean, tonight we've got enough space that maybe even if you wanted to share something else that you didn't write tonight, but if you just wanted to stand up and share it with us, you can. Is there anybody? Last I checked, there weren't any names on the sign-up sheet, so I'm just checking if anyone.
Well, we didn't know if we were going to get anything good.
I know.
So we didn't dare sign up.
Yeah.
I would like to share something.
Great.
Maybe something of what I wrote, but I brought a poem too.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay. You've got 7 minutes.
Okay.
You can go. What's your name?
Lisa.
Lisa. Welcome.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I've written anything Gothic, so I'm just trying to get a hold of maybe what it might look like. I only dreamed about his death, but it brought her to silence. Her dread of its reality, so palpable and possible. The dream became a bad omen, to be played out in the future, nevertheless plagued her with fear. And then a poem I wrote today.
Nice.
It's called Today's First Snow. Today's first snow bended the cosmos and frosted the marigolds, turned the cold river dark and dripped from the pines, stripped the trees of their leaves and revealed their black skeletons. Today's first snow melted on the pavement, wet my boots, and drove me indoors to contemplate the coming of the season of the inner life.
Oh, wow.
Is anyone else interested in sharing tonight?
I will.
Star? Great.
Okay, so I was hard pressed to get 3 pieces, but I did it. Whew, I had to write like mad. So here they are. Okay, now remember, this is fiction, okay? Wink, wink. Girl who plans, oh, this was the first prompt. Girl who plans her death. At 6 years old, the thorn punctured that blue puff of rounded vein inside her wrist. Infection, but no death. At 8, the window sash, easy to pull up, no screen, the frog songs calling sweetly on the pond, 2 stories down. A bat flew in and knocked her back into the room. No death, not even rabies. At 12, she's drinking beer, a kegger by the river. Easy after just a few, the walk down the bank and disappear into that dark relief. But even then, she's rescued, coughed up half a gallon, spoiled the party, but she didn't die. 13, sure this time she could do it, take her friends along. Besides, she got behind the wheel and cranked it hard into the semi bearing down top of the hill, but no. Somebody grabbed the wheel, the semi-driver blaring his horn as they hit the ditch. Nobody died. Okay, here's the second one. Murder face. I'm not going to make the face or you'll run out screaming. But here it is. To live in a haunted old farmhouse where too many relatives died in almost every room, a girl has to learn to be scary. Just as scary as the apparitions that drift out of the blue wardrobe at the top of the stairs. As scary as the foot-eating skeletons under the bed. As scary as the lights going off in the west bedroom and the attic door creeping open. By the way, I think this is off, but I'll just keep yelling it out. Okay, the loud footsteps clomping down the stairs in the middle of lunch. 2 kids alone with their dishes of canned bean soup. Nobody else around. A brother who died snoring in the bed next to you so you can't breathe or move or scream. That's scary, so a girl has to buck up. She may be young, but she can't go on living in petrifying fear. So she practices the most horrifically scary face she can make, with a blood-curdling scream of rage, her eyes scrunched into a fiery, wide violence, her mouth so big her teeth look sharp. Next time the ghosts begin, she lets loose, and her little sister runs screaming from the house, peeing her pants, and never comes home again. And the third one. My oldest sister's parakeet whistled as my sister whistled, a duet that went on all day long. Whistling, preening, my sister saying, pretty bird, the parakeet saying, pretty bird, enough to drive me nuts. My sister also had a Siamese cat. Her name was Ming Toy. One day, somehow, the door to the parakeet's cage was open. Wink, wink.
That's great.
This is so awkward with me coming up in between every one, but because we're doing it a little different tonight. Anyone else like to share?
I'll share.
Great, thank you. What's your name?
Dallin.
Dallin. Welcome.
Thank you. Those who went down the road, even those who did forebode. No mistake, no secret, no regrets. You go, you keep it. Eye of newt and skin of toad, something like their toxic ilk. Those who went, the breath they blow, tastes of death and turns to silk. Wars were fought o'er this elixir. The sages told our brothers, sisters. Rolling stones that grow no moss, none to grasp, and at what cost? You must imagine these wanderers happy, for if not, you'll lose all sanity. I trust myself, I will not go on down the road. That's what I said 10 years ago. Thank you. I like yours.
Great, thank you.